Hi there, Cosmic Family. My name is Yahiel in this incarnation. I am here today to talk about the energies of this next week from September 29th until October 5th. We are beginning a new month and we are in the final part of this 2025. Okay, things are going to be shaky for the rest of 2025 and for the rest of the next years. Actually, we are going through a great period of changes for the whole planet. So right now, this week, we are in this period of processing, what we have experimenting on eclipses. In fact, we are going through activations right now at this present moment that I'm making this video while the moon is going through Sagittarius, is connecting with the lunar nodes, the karma nodes, which are the mathematical points that participate of the eclipses. And these activations are also included in the next full moon in Aries that we are going to have on October 7th, but we are going to feel it practically from the beginning of the week. Therefore, this indicates that this is a week of conclusions, of closures, of decisions that are going to produce closures of cycles, of aspects that we are being aware right now. And of that full moon, I'm going to talk in the next video. But because of the aspects of this week, on our way to that full moon, and because of what implies the energy of Aries, it is very important for you to have present that we are going to deal with the manage of our force of advancement. Both for the people that are perhaps avoiding to use it through determinant decisions, as much as when this is in imbalance, and we are taking like impulsive actions. Anger, irritability could be an emotion very, very present that is going to talk and that is going to point us where we need, in which area of our lives we need to regulate our energy. So I'm going to talk about the first transit in order as always, but you are going to understand right now that everything is connected, that all the transits of this week are actually connected between each other. So on October 1st, Mercury in Libra creates a square with Jupiter in Cancer. And this is connected with two more aspects present this week. Mercury in Libra in opposition with Chiron, retrograde in Aries, and Jupiter in Cancer in a square with Chiron, retrograde in Aries. And the important thing about this, I'm going to expand on this topic in another video, but Jupiter and Chiron are going to be in a square the whole month of October. In fact, it is perfected by the end of this month. And what is developed in here responds to a major cycle that goes until July 2026. So, in fact, Jupiter is creating aspects that are, that have a long distance, and everything is condensed in this full moon. So, what is developing right now, very related to processes of expansion and growth, are involving also challenges, because when we talk about Chiron, this is about dealing and facing this, Chironian wound. And coming back to the first aspect of this week, for you to understand, Mercury in Libra square Jupiter in Cancer. Mercury is communication, conversations, understanding in the mental level, processing. In Libra, relationships, the relationship that we have with ourselves that is also reflected on the relationships on the outside. Topics linked with reciprocity, how we are giving, how we are receiving, and balance or the lack of these things. So tension with Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter is a planet that expands, that calls us to a growth that could be through literally opportunities, but also through questionings of our beliefs and decisions that are actually contributing to make a space to that growth. Regarding, projects that could be related to home, family, emotional world. This means that even if we are talking about a creative project, this has to nourish us in the emotional level. These are situations that beyond what is materialized right now, they have to move emotional growth, connection with our inner abundance. That is Jupiter in Cancer. So what Jupiter does in this tension is to amplify whatever thing we have, whatever thing we are sustaining on the inside. And this, we are going to see it very present in our mental processes. And as both of them are in attention with Chiron retrograde in Aries, in order to move forward to that Jupiterian expansion, there are parts of us that we need to embrace, to integrate. There are conditioned by past experiences of pain, by the fears that we could be feeling right now, and they could be taking form of these dialogues of, perhaps I am not feeling enough to do something, of not believing that we have the strength or the capacity to initiate or to advance in something. Comparison with other people's experiences, but not from a space that is contributing or causing admiration, but more from this space that is feeding the fear of not being able of manifesting something. It is like the lack of trust in our capacities. So if those dialogues are amplified, it is to be aware, to take consciousness about them and to realize that they are only an identification that we can choose to let go of. Now, the emotion that is manifested, we have to give a space to that, to feel it, even if it's uncomfortable, and to let it circulate out of the body, but also sustaining an inner dialogue that can accompany us to transit that, to take us forward. Because there is other polarity, and it is that the same Chironian wound from this place of not wanting to face the pain, not wanting to face the insecurity, could lead us to create expectations and, filters of optimism, but that they are not related to reality. In relationships and in other areas of life, and creating agreements or making choices from these places that are not representing true emotional growth. It is much more linked with attaching ourselves to a place because it is something that we know, because it is familiar, but could be also limitant, or because it brings a superficial satisfaction, because in deep down there is a great fear of not being enough, of doing things alone, or being independent. And the decision of looking to with optimism to those things, it is more responding to a dissociation of reality, and that ends up being the same or even more painful, because we are investing time and energy from this evasion of the pain or the insecurity, and trying to cover up a void with something that is not nourishing us truly. And it is not nourishing us from this space of the soul. And this reinforces the sensation of, it is not solitude, of loneliness. Reinforce the sensation of loneliness, of separation, because we are the ones that are putting us aside. And sooner or later, this expectation created from what we want to project, but not actually what we are, not the true acceptance of what reality is something that is going to be revealed. So, this square puts us in contact with those things, all of these tensions. And even if this is not comfortable, if we choose to trust in life and to communicate, because Mercury is very linked with that, or we decide, from this true will of expansion, even if this implies losing something in some cases, I am mixing languages, en algunos casos, in some cases, or facing situations that could generate insecurity in other cases, what you are actually doing is impulsing a great expansion, but from a very solid basis in our inner world that are going to be very important for the next months and for the 2026. And for life, actually, Jupiter speaks a lot of extracting this wisdom from experiences. So this is reinforced by the fact that on October 3rd, Venus in Virgo, that is in Virgo, is going to make a conjunction with the South Node in Virgo, and therefore opposition with the North Node in Pisces. And this connects us immediately with eclipses, especially the last one that was in Virgo. therefore, what has been manifested in the last weeks, situations of God. And also, when we are in eclipse season, people and projects that could appear, they represent karmic processes. I'm not talking about something wrong or good. I'm not, putting a label to that, but they have a function, or we are going to extract a learning that is key for our purpose of incarnation, because eclipses are very linked with that. So right now, it is put in evidence what we need to clean in relation regarding these situations. And as we are talking about Venus, relationship, resources, what you desire and that what you value is very implied. And this could take, several forms. When a planet touches the south node, and this mathematical point, programmings emerge, programmings that are not serving for us anymore. And North Node in Pisces appear new forms of evolution of inhabiting our reality. So in here, Venus, South Node in Virgo, could appear the distorted desire of conforming and adapting to a situation that is not being evolutionary anymore for fear of the uncertainty. Regarding, all the topics that I mentioned about Venus, could be the renouncement, realizing the renouncements that we are doing with oneself, oneself in the service of others, that actually are not representing, our own value, that are not representing giving ourselves value. The excessive focus in how we don't have what we want, because behind that, there is truly a desire of control and lack of trust in what we are transiting, because what we are transiting is the path, the most elevated path for desires of the soul. Could be, criticism, self-exigency, focusing on what we don't like about ourselves or what we don't like about others, like the projection, all of those things creating obstacles to flow in the process, to move forward to this North Node in Pisces. So the integration of this transit could be investing with that what we have available right now, whether this is time, our resources, our energy, our attention, that we recognize that is valuable, and that actually means self-love, and do it with consistency, and doing it, creating habits, and with practicality, and walking forth, even though we don't have control of all the manifestations towards the future, even though we don't know exactly how all the plan is going to be developed, and surrendering to life. That is the invitation of the North Node in Pisces. So I have much more to explain, but I'm going to do so in the next videos. Thank you, everyone. See you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.